Holy Haliburton. Tyrese fucking Haliburton. Overrate that. That's all I gotta say. This dude, this is now becoming like a movie script. This entire Indiana Pacers run to the finals, including the finals, game one. This is like a movie script. You can't write this better. Every single round, Tyrese Haliburton has had a game-winning shot in such dramatic fashion, and it doesn't get any bigger than game one of the finals. A game which Indiana did not lead. They never led this game until Tyrese Haliburton's game-winning shot with 0.3 seconds to go in the game. OKC led the entire game except for that last 0.3 seconds. That is why you got to play 48 minutes against this Pacers team. This Pacers team is like a fucking cockroach. They can survive a nuclear blast. They can survive any double-digit deficit that's thrown their way, and they've continued to prove that this entire playoffs. OKC was up 15 points in the fourth quarter. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm stunned, and I'm fucking ecstatic at the same time, because this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I expected, as both these teams to go tooth and nail. They are such mirrors of each other in so many places on the court. What a game. One, you couldn't have asked for anything better. Let's dig into it. Let me just read off some game notes here. If I were to read these game notes off to you and not tell you the results of the game, let me just think about what you would say. And I'm sure you would say there's no way Indiana won that game. SGA had 38 points. OKC up 15 points in the fourth quarter. OKC had 14 steals in the game. Pacers had 1 steal in the entire game. The Pacers had 24 turnovers, including 19 at halftime. OKC had 6 turnovers. OKC wins the points in the paint, 46 to 34. They led the entire game until 0.3. This is nuts. This is crazy. I'm stunned. I'm shocked. The Pacers now with 8 clutch wins in the playoffs. 4 of those by Haliburton alone. This is wild. This is wacky, wild stuff. There's no way that OKC should have lost this game. Now, if we remember, they did this against Denver earlier in the playoffs as well, where they squandered away a fourth quarter lead in game one as well against Denver and lost at home. Rebounded, of course, came back and won that series in 7. But there's all sorts of weird, wacky stuff that has happened in the playoffs that was eerily similar to what happened in game one here. That being one of them, that OKC has already done this once where they've had a lead and squandered it away in the fourth quarter and lost the game. There's also been a game against Minnesota where Minnesota literally won every offensive stat line category in that game, played fucking phenomenal, and they lost that game, which is exactly what happened today with OKC as well, playing fantastic the entire way and then squandered it away. The Pacers, of course, this is super familiar for them. They've been down almost seems like they want to be down. It almost seems like they're playing with everybody. Like, haha, we're going to go down 14 points and we'll just come back and win in the clutch because we got the guy to do it. This is crazy. This is the NBA Finals. This is exactly what we want. All right, I promised we'll get into some numbers here, so let's do that. Here are a couple of things that I mentioned pre-game when I was doing the preview of Game 1. I talked about Nembhard and whether or not he will become more of a ball handler to take the pressure off of Tyrese, who I expected was going to be pressured the entire game. So was the case. So was the case as well of Nembhard carrying the ball more. He became the primary ball handler in the fourth quarter, which took the pressure off Tyrese. And also he started to feel he didn't look as run down as he was when he was playing against Jalen Brunson. And I wonder if there's a different level of physicality defensively that Jalen Brunson provides that SGA doesn't. So that'll be interesting to track as the series goes on, because Nembhard did play SGA quite a bit on the defensive end. The other thing I looked at was who would Miles Turner guard, because as I pointed out against that series with the Knicks, it seemed like he was getting blown away at the 3-point line in space against Cat. Cat was getting to the hoop easily whenever he wanted to. Down low, of course, he was getting tortured by Mitchell Robinson on the offensive glass. And I had suggested that maybe that same thing would happen with Miles Turner in this series, because you got Chet on the outside who can drive past him and has more of a dribble game. And then you also have Hartenstein, who plays great on the offensive boards and just plays so tough and physical anyways. That was sort of negated or nullified with Isaiah Hartenstein not even starting the game. So OKC going right to the bag of tricks before the game even started by changing the starting lineup. I should note, Cason Wallace being in the starting lineup isn't something new for OKC. Cason Wallace started 43 games in the season this year. So let's not get too crazy about the fact that he started. It's the choice of timing, I think, that everyone is more interested in. It's not so much that Cason Wallace started, it's the fact that it's game one of the series. And bringing up those points I did about Turner, about the offensive rebounding, OKC having that advantage, the fact that they went away from that, or didn't use it, I should say, to their advantage. Sorry, let's turn the light on here. To their advantage was a little bit skeptical, but I'm not going to tell Mark Daigneault how to coach. He's the man. Lou Dort, I said Lou Dort would potentially be the most important person in the series because of his defense on Haliburton and how much time off of the shot clock he would shave off with full court pressure. Essentially meaning that it's going to turn the Pacers into a half court team, in which case they would need to exploit the matchups in the post and use Siakam, who's their best half court player, proven again tonight, as well as getting Turner on some of those switches down low. I thought that the Pacers did a great job of that, of being physical in the paint the entire game. Pascal Siakam as well. We're going to touch more on that in a little bit. But Lou Dort, defending Haliburton, had so much success throughout the season this year, and I looked for that to be the case. Lou Dort was kind of everywhere. They kind of had him like a free safety, kind of like Draymond, how Draymond plays as well, Draymond Green. So he was kind of everywhere. But however, Tyrese Haliburton was negated in terms of his running gun show that he likes to play. Pacers only had 10 fast break points. And another thing I talked about pre-game was, would the Pacers be able to contest the double big lineup of OKC and challenge them in the rebounding matchup? Pacers end up winning the rebound matchup plus 17 after game one. Again, a lot of that having to do with Hartenstein not playing as much. He only played 17 minutes. He did have 9 rebounds in those 17 minutes, so that leads you to wonder about how much time he'll get next game. And then I said as well, could the Pacers win the three-point line? They hit lots of corner threes, which is their bread and butter. That's their specialty, and they shot 46% from the three-point line this game. Pacers out-rebound OKC 56-39 in total. No OKC player had double-digit rebounds. Again, I mentioned Hartenstein had 9 in only 17 minutes of play. Nesmith for the Pacers had 12 rebounds. Siakam had 10 rebounds. Miles Turner had 9 rebounds. Haliburton, 10 rebounds. Pacers were fucking all over it. They were playing like a team that showed up to the NBA Finals on the road and wanted to steal this one. They definitely did. Pacers shot 47% from the field, 46% from 3. So their offense was humming all game, as it normally has throughout the season, throughout the playoffs. Although you couldn't tell in that first half because they played like shit. Bench points 39-28 for Indiana as well. The bench coming up really quiet for OKC. That is one of their defining factors of this team being so good, is the amount of players that they can bring off that bench and the number of points that bench puts up. Not so much the case in today's game. I thought the game started off like a heavyweight boxing match. Just both teams really sticking to what they do. Testing out the waters. Shea looked really comfortable early. It was 3 for 4, 7 points in the first 6 minutes. Ended the quarter with 12 points in the first. The Pacers had 5 turnovers in the first 7 minutes, 9 in total after the first quarter. So you're watching this first quarter, really the whole first half, and you're like, there's no way that they're going to win this. They're shooting themselves in the foot. They're not ready for the moment. OKC's defense is fucking a monster, as it has been all year. And then the second quarter starts and you get good production from both benches. OKC was aggressive getting to the line. Kind of weird that Mitchell got the start off the bench coming into the second quarter. I thought that was really strange. Like, Mark Daigneault was really going into the toolkit for this one, man. He's really playing chess. Changes the starting lineup, brings in Mitchell in the second quarter. before a lot of the other bench guys who normally get run, such as what's the motherfucker's name? I always forget it. He's got the funny hair. I'll think about it. I'll come back to me in a second. Anyways, Mitchell getting that second quarter run was a little bit strange, but again, Mark Dagnall playing chess, going deep into the bag. Love it. I love to see all the tactical stuff in the playoffs. There was a point in this game where I was like, I wish I had a stat line for this, but how many loose balls or tipped balls off of offensive rebounds went to OKC? They were just diving in the air, is what it seemed like, and just swinging and knocking the ball out of the air. They weren't even trying to rebound it. They're just smacking it, and it was making its way out to the three-point line. And they were getting a lot of offensive rebounds that way. It seemed like they were getting tons in the second quarter, and I was like, who the hell is boxing? Like, no one's boxing. Everyone's just jumping in the air, trying to swat at balls. So it was a bit strange, but man, was it effective, at least in the second quarter. There was a point, OKC was up 11 points in the second quarter, and you could, like, I asked myself, I'm like, who's winning this game? Like, you couldn't convince me that OKC was winning. Like, it didn't seem like they had like a stranglehold on this game. Like, we look at after two quarters, 19 turnovers for the Pacers. Like, you would assume, and especially a team like OKC, that they would fucking they'd be out the gates and then this would be a blowout. But you couldn't tell me who was winning. Like, it seemed like it was so tight the entire way. I thought it was quite interesting that they have like the sounds of the game where they go into, like, the players are mic'd up or whatever. There was a couple of really great sound bites in this game, and I thought one of the most interesting ones was Tyrese Haliburton early on in the second quarter, where he's talking to one of his assistants coaches, and he's just saying to himself and to the coach, like, I'm starting to get my breath, like, I'm starting to figure it out. Like, so they survived that first punch, and I think, like, the nerves got settled, and then they started to feel like, all right, we're here. We're here for a reason. We know who we are. Let's just go out and execute. Didn't look like it in the first half. Let me just say, and let me follow it up by saying it didn't look like it in the first half because they weren't playing very good. Siakam, I thought, was just fucking dynamite the entire game. Just dynamite. Like, his aggressiveness in the post, even when he wasn't getting a touch in the post, his aggressive behavior in the post he was knocking dudes around. He was getting down to the post every single possession, whether he touched the ball or not. And that actually led to a lot of offensive rebounds that he got. A couple of key ones as well late in the game where it seemed like there was an air ball from Nembhard on a 3 attempt, and Pascal just happened to be there. He happened to be there because he put himself there. He had been going down to the post the entire game willingly to either try to find a mismatch or to get on the offensive rebounds. So that was a huge sign for me that, like, OKC is going to have to look at that in the game tape and say, we need to put a body on this motherfucker. We need to get someone big on him. If you put anyone that is not Chet or Hartenstein on Siakam, he is going to outmuscle them in the paint. He did that successfully this game. I hope he continues to do that because that is their strongest card to play in the half court is Siakam in the post, in my opinion. This game was all over the place, man. Like, there was, every time there was a 6-point lead, it would get pushed to 9. It would get pushed to 12. Indiana would chip away. It would get pushed to 9. It would get pushed to 12. Indiana chips away. Same result. OKC just coming back, hitting huge shots every single time Indiana put up some sort of run. And it just didn't seem like it seemed like one of those games where it's like, yeah, you know what, Indiana's going to come back and they're going to contest the game, but OKC's defense is going to prevail in the end. They just continue to seem to have something as an answer for Indiana every time Indiana went on a run. Tyrese Haliburton only had 5 shot attempts in the first half. I immediately thought to myself, like, bro, this ain't the time to be passive. Like, mind you, when you watch Tyrese play throughout the season, throughout the playoffs, there's a lot of times where he isn't going to try and get his shot. Like, he's just trying to figure out the defense. He's just trying to figure out the team. Again, like I said, this is the first time these teams have played in the finals together against each other. They played a few times in the season, but finals is totally different. Both teams are under a different level of pressure. Both teams have gone through a different levels of adversity. And so now it's like a completely different team, completely different mindset. So I think he was just trying to feel out the game and kind of see where he could pick his spots. But 5 shot attempts, I thought, nevertheless, still not very aggressive. Need more than 5 shots in the first half. let's see what happens next game. I thought it was interesting that as the third quarter started, OKC continued with the same starters with the Case and Wallace matchup. I guess they figured that they were doing well, like they were up, they were winning, they were handily taking care of them on the defensive end, so they figured to keep going with it. I don't know. And again, not going to tell Mark Daigneault how to coach. I think the double big lineup would have been effective there. You can't be happy with a 15-point lead against the Pacers. They have proven this far too many times. If you get that double big lineup in there, maybe you swing the rebounding matchup. Maybe you get some fast break points, push that lead to 20. You're at home. SGA was on fire. You push that a little bit further. Pacers have much more difficult time coming back. Maybe kill some of their confidence, but wasn't the case. Siakam was matchup hunting. He was hunting Wallace. He had a couple of easy baskets in the post against Wallace in the first quarter, and he was hunting him in the third. Like plays where Tyrese Haliburton's got the ball up top and Siakam's telling him to stop just to set that screen so he can get that switch. And then he immediately barrels down in the post and looks for the ball again. Even when he didn't touch the ball, he's still getting that switch onto Wallace and getting down to the paint so that he has that advantage as far as rebounding is concerned. Just really great smarts by Siakam. Like he plays like a consummate professional all the time. He proved that the entire game as well. A lot of great offensive stuff for the Pacers in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. The third quarter, they started to really settle in, and you could see that the players were starting to find their groove. They were looking for Turner in the post as well, on top of looking for Siakam in the post. So they were trying to get those switches intentionally and then getting down into the paint and taking care of some of those matchup problems. Toppin even was in the post a couple of plays. They got him a basket in the post up. I believe he got fouled on that play and went to the free throw line. But you got to credit their defense. Their defense in the third quarter for Indiana really held them in place and helped them kind of claw away and chip away at the sort of confidence, I think, of OKC. Like it didn't do much for the lead at that time, but you could tell there was this confidence sort of swap that was going on, where the confidence that OKC was feeling, including the crowd, that crowd was getting pretty nervous, getting pretty tight in that third and fourth quarter as Indiana was starting to settle in. But that confidence factor really was a difference. I think that Indiana started to feel like themselves more, and OKC was starting to feel the retaliation that the Pacers were putting up. OKC was never able to stretch that lead beyond 12 in the third quarter. The Pacers kept cutting it with some threes. Again, ultimately, the OKC goes into the fourth quarter up 15. So again, it looked like, it was one of those things where it's like the Pacers are putting up a hell of a fight. I still think OKC is going to win. It was clearly that way up until 0.3 seconds left in the game. An important note that I wrote down about the third quarter as well is OKC had no free throw attempts in the third. So when we're talking about confidence, and when we're talking about a team really shifting the energy of a game, typically the team that is getting to the free throw line is the team that has more energy, the team that has more aggression, the team that's playing more deliberate. That was Indiana in the third. They outscored OKC 31-28. I know it's marginal, but still, you could see that they were starting to settle into their game. They hit 4 corner threes in the third as well, Indiana. So they were really starting to get to their bread and butter. Here was another really important stat line. So Shea ended the game with 30 field goal attempts. Lots of fucking shots. Clearly, everyone else on the team needs to do a little bit more from the offensive end. It's only game one. Like I say, I'm not going to get too excited. I think that J-Dub will rebound. I think that Chet will rebound. They will get back to themselves at some point in the series, maybe game 2, game 3, game 4 as the series progresses. I don't expect them to have that bad of a game continuing throughout the playoffs again, or throughout the finals. First time these teams are going up against each other, a lot to feel out, a lot to figure out. So Shea's field goal attempts. Shea had 26 field goal attempts going into the fourth quarter. His 27th shot attempt came at the 3:30 mark of the fourth quarter. So he goes into the fourth quarter having 26 field goal attempts. Doesn't take a shot for the next 8.5 minutes. That was a big deal. A big deal because no one else was really scoring for OKC. A big deal because Indiana was finding their groove and was starting to hit baskets and chipping away at that lead. In the fourth quarter, they get a nice boost, the Pacers, from their bench. Their bench outscores OKC's bench. They get this nice lift from Mathurin. Mathurin started the last series against the Knicks so terribly, and then he ended that series so fucking well, and that is carrying over into this series. That third quarter, he gave them a nice little punch, nice little boost. Um, the Pacers had this out of bounds baseline play where they threw it away and then it turned into a fast break dunk for OKC. There were like 5 or 6 pivotal plays like that in the game where I was like, that's just the OKC kind of knockout punch. Like there was that play. There was a Lou Dort block where he went so vertical that you couldn't be any more vertical and got that block on Nesmith. There was these moments where I was just like, oh shit, as well as Indiana's playing. Oh, OKC did that thing again. But it wasn't enough to knock these guys out. Like I say, they are the cockroach team. They find a way to survive every single thing that is thrown their way. The Pacers guards were penetrating. I thought they were getting to the paint quite easily as well in the fourth quarter, off the dribble especially. I thought SGA sat for a very long time in that fourth. Again, we're talking about him not getting his he got his first field goal attempt on the fourth with 3:30 to go. He didn't check into the game into the fourth until the 7:44 mark. So maybe some exhaustion. I don't know. You know, when you're taking 30 shots a game and you're the focal point of the team and you've scored the most points that game as well, maybe it's starting to wear down on him a little bit. The Pacers running guns. So Pacers don't let you rest. Like as soon as you've scored on a possession, they're already going the other way. So they don't let you rest anywhere. So that'll be an interesting thing to track as well, because Shea's going to have to log a lot of minutes against this team as the series goes on. Turner with a couple of corner threes in the fourth. Caruso, man, this guy just like, Caruso was like Dennis Rodman to me. He reminds me of Dennis Rodman in the sense that like he makes these championship plays all the fucking time. He guards anyone, like whoever you want him to guard, he guards. He rebounds, he hustles, he deflects the ball, he plays great defense, he's very poised. Like he just makes all these amazing championship game-winning plays time and time again. He continued to do that this game. I thought Caruso played really well. Here was a turning point for me in and amongst some of the other things that I've been talking about. At the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter, the Pacers go on a 12-2 run in 2 minutes. That changed when I was talking about that sort of shift in the confidence between the teams. That was starting to happen at the fourth quarter. When this 12-2 run happened, I felt like that was the real like let the air out of the building moment for the Pacers, because the crowd got super fucking quiet, super nervous, and the Pacers just looked like they gained this like you know those Red Bull commercials where they drink that shit and they get their wings. They seem like they got their wings at that point. Shea only had 4 free throw attempts until late in the fourth. I know he ended the game with 8 free throw attempts. Not enough. He took a lot of shots. I thought the game was officiated well, so I don't think that there was a point where he wasn't getting calls and not getting to the line. But 8 free throw attempts in total, 4 until late in the game. So it's something to look forward to as the series goes on. Like, how is he going to get to the line? Is there a matchup that he can find that's favorable that he can get to the line with? I think Nembhard played him really well. Nesmith played him really well. He's so tough. He's so strong. He's so big. He can sort of shift and guide Shea where he wants at points. I mean, Shea ended the game with 38 points, but still, I didn't think it was an easy 38. 38 points on 30 field goal attempts is quite a bit. Nembhard was starting to handle that ball in the fourth, and I think that became really interesting because the ball was off Tyrese. The focus was off Tyrese, and now you got Nembhard, who his confidence was starting to gain as the game progressed. You could tell like he was starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. And then he had that huge three. There's a couple of huge 3-pointers at the 2:30 mark of the fourth quarter. Nesmith hits a 3, makes it a 6-point game. Nesmith hits a 3 at the 2:30 mark, makes it a 6-point game, comes back down the next position. Nembhard hits a 3. He had Shea on skates. He had that little tween, little back step, fucking pull up 3. Like, man, he he had Shea on skates. He busted him on that play, and then that cut it to 3. And then Shea just comes back and then hits a huge basket on the next position. Again, another one of those moments where you're just like, Pacers are making a comeback, and then OKC just comes back and hits them with a knockout blow, and you're like, this is the way this game's going to go. The Pacers are going to continue to try and push, and then OKC is just going to make a great defensive play, or Shea's just going to get an easy basket, and that's how the game's going to end. That's what it seemed like was happening throughout this game. Like as it was almost like scripted. It's like, okay, the Cinderella team's doing great. Oh, the other team came back with a knockout punch. And it just kept going back and forth like that. Speaking of pivotal plays, there is, and again, this is all about Siakam's intention to get to the paint, to get to the post, to play as aggressively as he did. Siakam got a huge block with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, which leads to an offensive rebound and a basket on the other end as well. Following possession, Siakam goes for an offensive rebound. Looked like he was fouled by Cason Wallace. The Pacers try to challenge the play. The challenge gets overturned. The challenge being overturned wasn't as important as it was the fact that Pascal Siakam made that play happen. He was getting his ass to the paint time and time again. He was getting onto the offensive glass time and time again. Just his aggression and just his intentionality of making that a point in this game was really, really fucking important. All that turns into, or comes down to, the last 2 plays of the game. Last 2 plays of the game, SGA comes down, gets the ideal look at a shot, probably 8 to 10 feet from the basket, has a nice step back, gets separation from Nembhard, has a perfect view of the shot. It just doesn't go in, rattles out, set the stage for Tyrese Haliburton to turn around the other way. And this is something that is a note of interest as well. Certain times coaches trust their players enough that in a live setting, even if they have a timeout, they're just going to let the player be creative and let the game come to them and allow them to make a move because they have that trust factor in them. This was another one of those situations. This happened in the Cleveland series as well, when Tyrese Haliburton hit the game winner, when he got his own offensive rebound. They had a timeout. They had 8 seconds. Coach let him dribble out and play the game. Tyrese, of course, hits that step back 3 for the game winner. Same thing here. Carlisle lets him play at the end of the game situation. Even with all the massive turnovers that team had, he's just like, they could feel that they were in the place that they needed to get to. These tight game situations, they seem really fucking comfortable in. And I could see why. And the reason why is Tyrese Haliburton. I think the other thing that's really interesting about this Tyrese Haliburton shot, that's not his regular shot. Like, that is not a shot he goes to in the game. I'm sure he practices it, but when you see his game shots, he's always fast break. He's always step back 3s, drives to the hoop, layups, floaters. He's not really a pull-up guy. He pulled up for the fucking game winner. Like, that is the confidence that he has in himself. I'm going to go ahead and do this shot, which 10 times out of 10, I normally don't do in a game. This might be the second time in this entire playoffs that I've seen him do a pull-up. And you know what? You might have to go to this shit a little bit more because it's starting to go in. It's starting to look good. He's got a tall frame. He can get the ball up high on his release. And clearly the shit goes in. Wow. Game 2. I don't know what the hell is going to happen. I think it'll be interesting to see what OKC does with their starting lineup. Will they go to the double bigs, or will they just decide to play the double bigs more? I think Hartenstein only getting 17 minutes, bit of an issue. I think when you got a guy that's that, energetic, aggressive on the defensive and offensive glass, you got to get him in there, especially the way they're out rebounded this game. I think Chet and Jalen will come back. Jay will come back and have good offensive games. I think the scariest thing if you're an OKC fan, or the best thing if you're a Pacers fan or a Pacers player, is despite how terribly they played, they still won the game. They had 19 turnovers in the first half, and they still won the game. OKC only had 6 turnovers. Interesting point. I don't know how this happened, because this is OKC's bread and butter, as you know, is they love to turn the ball over on the other team and then get points off of those turnovers. They only had, was it 14 points? 11 points off of turnovers. Let me just double check. I just want to be totally clear on this. They forced 24 turnovers. Here we go. I got the stats right here. Let's see. Game stats. Let's go to the game charts. All right. Yeah. So 24 turnovers by the Pacers. And only, is it 11? Why can't I find this? I think it's 11 points. They get, in any case, 11 points off of fucking 24 turnovers. I don't know how OKC did that. I don't know how they wound up with such a lopsided. Oh, here we go. Sorry. I got the actual number here. Yeah, it is 11. 11 points off of 24 turnovers. That's nuts. Normally it'd be way higher than that. Way higher than that. I don't know. I don't know what happened with OKC at the end. You could say that as much as everyone was giving New York a hard time about blowing that game in game one against the Pacers, potentially say the same thing here about OKC. Again, they've done this once already in the playoffs, squandering that game one against Denver. I think they have a lot to prove in this game to themselves, that they can be better, that they can execute better, that they can share the ball and play as a unit, play collectively better. If you're a Pacers fan, as badly as they played, they won. So you know that they have so much more in store. Let's see what the rebounding looks like next game. Let's see if those double bigs get in. Plus 17 for the Pacers on the boards. Like I say, not a single person in double digits on OKC in rebounds. Rebounding will be big. I would love to see if OKC decides two things. A, to make Lou Dort the primary defender on Haliburton. Like I say, he was kind of floating. He was guarding everyone in this game. Considering the amount of success he had against Haliburton in the regular season, in 122 possessions when Tyrese has played against Lou Dort, he's only scored 10 field goal attempts, or he's only had 10 field goal attempts and scored 8 points. Not sure why that wasn't the primary matchup the entire game. Will be interesting to see if that happens. On top of that, it'll be interesting to see if they decide to go to a zone defense to keep Indiana out of the paint, or to contest Indiana in the paint, which they won the paint points in this game. So much has happened. So much is yet to happen. And I can't wait for game 2. I think Shea will continue to play like Shea plays. He's going to need some help on the offensive end. Indiana's got so much more that they can do. I kind of like, I wanted, OKC is my favorite team. I try not to be biased on the podcast. I try not to pick series. I try not to talk about who's going to win and who's going to do this and that. I like to talk about the strategy. I like to talk about the game itself. I like to find the silver linings. I like to find little wrinkles. But OKC is my favorite team. I've wanted them to win this entire time. I don't know, man. This Pacers Cinderella run that they're on, this storybook run that they're on, kind of want them to win just because of how crazy this playoff run has been. It would just be a fitting ending to this storybook run that they're having in the finals, in the playoffs. This is crazy. I can't wait for game 2. I will check in with y'all after that. Coming up on Sunday night, recording this here on Saturday, June 7th. At whatever time it is, 6:38. Shit, I should go make some dinner. Anyways, Studio Steve signing out after game 1 of the NBA Finals. Tyrese Haliburton again with another game winner. This doesn't get any better. I love basketball. I love the NBA. This is the best time of the year. I hope y'all are enjoying this. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Studio Steve signing out. Peace.